Hello, and welcome back to the sim. In this one, we're jumping in with the HJet again. We're all the way to beta 107 November. Yeah, that's right. There's been that many betas going on, and there's so many new features and functionality, and we wanted to jump into it. So one of the big things is all about SIDs, and the fact that the VNAV can now fly tremendous SIDs. Here you can see we're going to fly from MMTO, or Toluca, which is like 20 some miles from Mexico City. But if you fly a proper departure and a proper arrival, you're going to find that it's actually a pretty long flight. But what's really cool about this is the level of which the VNAV has to deal with constraints on that departure. So we're going to jump into the flight, but first we're going to delete everything so we make sure to enter it directly in the jet. Let's go. So here we are on the ground with a great parking spot ready to load in. So let's jump inside the plane and get everything going. Now, we've got our door open so the executives, the VIPs, can just directly walk in and take their seat. When we come inside, we want to get everything powered up like we always do. I love to get rid of the yokes, get them out of the way, and then get that battery started.
Okay.
So now that we have our ground power connected, because it's left over from our previous flight, or if you weren't sure about it, you can find ground power inside of the right GTC. Now, jumping down to the right GTC, of course, we've got Nico in the back by himself. Marwin wanted to come up front. He wants to hang out. We got my baggage up front, their baggage in the back. 2,000 pounds of fuel. That's more than enough for this flight, so we're going to go ahead and leave that there. Gives us a little bit of lightness, so to speak. So go ahead, get that MFT going, click on it. So now we got that going, we're going to go ahead and check our sim actions. We've got the main door closed, so only ground power is left. So let's come over here to the left hand side and let's enable our external power. So we're coming off the ground power and no longer just the battery. We're going to go to our initialization page. We're going to go ahead and run our system test, hit that pre-flight. Now, of course, if we bring in a stick, just so we see it, hey, stick shaker. Go ahead and get that out of the way. Everything's done. We're going to go back. We're going to come into our load manager. So let's go ahead and pull it in from the sim. We got me and Marwin. Passengers in the back. Get from sim. 160 pounds. Oof. I think Nico might be a little heavier than that. Not sure. So we'll go to our fuel. We'll go ahead and grab that. 2,000 pounds. And of course, our takeoff weights, we're going to initialize and tax fuel of 100 pounds. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next thing. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get our values. So it populates our takeoff V1 VR V2s. We're going to go to the landings and we're going to get from sim and we'll have them, but we're not going to turn them on this time. We know what would happen if we had to return to land. We can jump in here pretty quick and just enable them. All right, so we're done here. Gonna go ahead and hit home. Go into our aircraft systems, go to system controls, go to our interior lights. We're gonna get our seatbelts and no smoking signs on, and of course lighting control. We can bring that down if we needed to. This isn't so bad. So we're gonna go ahead and hit home. And we've got our performance. We've done that VNAV. VSD is on. That guy right there. So everything's looking good. Of course, utilities. we can go into our minimums, and we've got our timers there as well. We want to go into our checklist, and that brings it up. Of course, we could have clicked on the knob. Just be careful. You want to get the knob. So battery on, oxygen normal. So see, in is good. External power, click that on because we turned off the parking brake, which will disable it. Pressurization panel looks good. We're going to go ahead and click. Again, this is driving me up the wall. So we're going to come back up here, look down, and I'm going to use my joystick bindings. Electrical on and normal. ELT is normal. Nose wheel steering is set to norm. Landing gear is down. Alternate release handle is set. Parking brake set. Flaps are up and confirmed. Thrust levers are off and idle. Speed brake is retracted. Ice protection, we can see they're all set to norm, and engine anti-ice is off. Fuel panel is set to norm. Trim panel all set to norm. Windshield heat panel norm. Pneumatics are norm. Glare shield is dark, meaning we check here, all's good, click it out, dark, dark, we are good. Chime, normal and dark, and initialization of the avionics is complete. Passenger briefing, yeah, Nico, just drink a beer, we're good. Rudder pedals adjusted, seats and seat belts, doors closed, parking brake is set. Our CAS messages look correct. You notice here it says review because some of this may be like, well, that could be a warning. But it's the correct warning for the state we're in. Electrical volts. So if we hold down that button, we jump back to our systems, or we hit home, aircraft systems, go to the electrical. We see our electrical is all good. Switching back, pressing the button, 23.5 volts. Engine start. So select engine and press. So it's real simple. It's just hit the button and go. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn off our external power. We're going to go back. We are going to go to sim options, sim actions. We're going to disconnect the generator. And now that we're good, we'll keep ourselves here in the systems. Okay, so hit start. And right here, move it out into idle. And now we're going to hear it spool up. There we go. Looking good. Only takes like 20 seconds. So we're going to go ahead, start the left engine, and kick it in. Look at our timer. And we have a good start. Engine starts are good. Engine instruments checked. Everything looks good. ITT is rising. This one is holding. N2, oil pressure, oil temperature rising, obviously. It's heating up. And fuel flows are balanced. Engine anti-ice. So if we look down here, we can see where it's at. We don't need any. And if you look down here, cabin power is our only CAS message. So external power has been disconnected. Flight controls. I guess we don't really see any synoptics pages for that. There's the environment. There's our electrical. Looks good. Now that we got both engines running, I want to make sure to get the cabin power on. Fuel looks good. Lots of fuel on board. Our hydraulics look good, and our ice protection obviously is where it's at. Let's go to the status page. We can see all the lights are in automatic mode, so we're good to go there. And reservoir quantity 94%. We are looking good on our oxygen, so life is good. Flight controls, free and correct. Yes. All right, before taxi, wing anti-ice, don't need it. Transponder code. So we're going to go ahead and give ourselves 4, 5, 6, 7. And we want to move from standby to TA only because that's a traffic advisory only. No resolution advisory, but it's still altitude reporting. So we're good there. Flight ID, can't enter it, but we're confirmed with Charlie Golf Mike Tango Tango. Flight plan, let's go ahead and enter that. So coming down to our flight plan, we are at MMTO. We are going to MMMX. Where's the M's? All right, so we got MMTO to MMMX, and it's only like 28 miles. Until we go to our procedures, go to our departure, and we're going to go off of new. We want to go back. We want to pick Pura 2A, runway 15. I'm going to go ahead and load that. We're going to zoom out so people can see it. Now we're going to come to our arrival. And we're going to do the ENGA 2A. We want runway 5 right, according to what Marwin asked us to do. And we're going to hit load. So it's going to load that. Boom. And it comes. Now we could wait, but we're going to go ahead and grab our approach. We are going to be doing the RNAV 5 left, sorry, 5 right. RNAV 5 right, transition, I guess, SUTAS? Yes, we'll take SUTAS. That looks, SUTAS looks usable, because balloons on the bottom, might as well take SUTAS. Sounds good. Going to go ahead, load that, hit home, and we got to go back to the flight plan, go to procedure, go to approach, and turn that off. And of course, when we zoom in, everything looks pretty good. It'll give us kind of what we're trying to do. I think this is going to be a great route. It's going to look pretty. So hopefully, it's a lot of fun to fly. So, flight plan is entered. Navigation source. This is, now that we have a flight plan, we can change this to FMS. Boom, away we go. Altimeters set. So, we're going to cheat. We're going to go ahead and, actually, we don't need to. We're on standard clear skies, so it's 2992. That is correct. Flap set for takeoff. So basically we want to go to the takeoff position. Speed brake, we're going to check it. Extends. Look up here, speed brake is extended. If we look outside, we see the speed brake is extended. And then we go ahead and put it back up and retract it. So speed brake good. Cabin signs as required, we're leaving those on. Parking brake, we're going to go ahead and release that. We are ready for our taxi. So we're going to do a brake check, nose wheel steering check, and flight instrument. We're going to check those. All right, so what is our departure? We're going to check that real quick. We need to get ourselves, and this is pretty nice if you don't have charts, you can see your all of your different restrictions on the initial climb out. So 29,000 feet, 30,000 feet at Enga. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can climb up to 29,000. Now what's really cool about this is because of that, it automatically loaded now our 29,000. So we don't even need to spin up for that. It took care of it. That is pretty awesome. I'm going to go ahead and get us up to 140 on our speed. So flaps are set for takeoff. Trims will be set. So we need to trim ourselves. Speed brake is retracted. CAS messages have been reviewed. Navigation is set. Flight guidance currently set. So on this departure, it is all under FMS control, so we're good there. Toll data is confirmed. We got our V1, VR, V2. Takeoff briefing complete. Radar we don't need. Ice protection we don't need. So we're ready to go. We're going to go ahead and we're going to taxi on over for departure. On a normal takeoff, we want to make sure to get the landing gear up, get the yaw damper verified. We're going to get our flaps up after we clear 130, thrust levers then drop into MCT. Flight guidance as required, ice protection as required, cabin signs as required. So we're going to leave cabin signs, ice protection, it's going to be fine. We're very warm. As you can tell, this is going to happen pretty quick like it normally does. Let's get our flight director on, and we're going to set for Toga. As always, for protection, I love to do my classic bug up. So let's get the runway lines between our legs. We're going to stop here. We're going to go ahead and sync our heading bug. You can do that by clicking on the knob right here. So we're going to go ahead and hold the brakes, start bringing up the power. And we're going to let go of the brakes and all the way forward into takeoff power. And should have bugged up speed for about 140. Ooh, keep it on the center line while you're trying to do that. And coming up on V1, rotate, and we're off. Tap the brakes, gears going up. We're through 130, flaps going up. Yaw damper goes on. We're going to go ahead and get the autopilot on. Now we're just doing this early so that we can stay with it. Go ahead and drop into MCT. So landing gear, yaw damper, flaps, thrust levers, flight guidance as required. So we're going to go ahead and get LNAV and we're going to get VNAV. So our VNAV, and we've done this so that we can see just how well this is going to do at climbing with VNAV and maintaining all of our restrictions So it's got to be above, but below the next one at 17,000. So it's calculating that path perfectly. So flight guidance as required, ice protection, cabin signs, we're good. Climb. Pressurization check. We're in the green on the cabin pressurization check. And of course, we're already in standard altimeters, so we don't really have to worry about that. Cruise, altimeters won't need to be changed. Systems, we're going to go ahead and monitor. And then we're worried about our descent. So for now, we'll go ahead and hold that button down and switch over to our systems page. So looking at our VNAV Climb, we are holding nicely on this pretty cool design. And with MCT, we're climbing at 216, and it's slowly rolling itself back, it looks like. Probably going to lock in around 210. Once it gets to about 210, it's going to continue that climb rate. And we are on our way up to 29,000 feet. Our current next hard restriction, as we can see in the magenta here, is 20,000 feet. So that's pretty cool. It's going to moderate and manage those climbs for us, and we just have to follow along. Our environmentals look good. Our electrical looks good. Bus tie is off as it should be. Fuel loads looking good. Hydraulics and ice protection all look good. Let's go ahead and jump back to status. Well, we cleared that restriction perfectly, but it looks like we're going to level off. So we're going to go above 19,000 at our next restriction. We're making that turn. So climbing turn, we're going to level off at 20,000. That's a pretty smooth level off. It's a lot better than it was. I like that a lot. That's custom. Definitely custom. Nice smooth intercept. Very nice. So we're holding at 20,000, and of course this is where you have to now come in and start to manage your power. And the only reason for this is there's no auto throttle, so we don't want to overspeed the plane, so we're going to pull back the power a little bit while we're en route to our next waypoint. Now, of course, we could always engage CSC mode at this point. Hold 263 while we wait for our next climb point. So we've hit it, we're starting to climb up. So now I'm going to go ahead and start pushing those throttles back up until we click into MCT. Now that we're in MCT, of course CSC's canceled out, and we're now climbing on our VNAV profile. So this one's going to take us all the way up to 29,000, which is our final cruising altitude. Obviously, this is a really big round robin circle to get us into Mexico, but it takes us on a beautiful route. So let's go ahead and hop outside. So there's a lot of nice, beautiful mountains. Of course, plenty of city expanse. And of course, that's the 1,000 to go marker as we approach top of climb. Now, it used to be that right around here, there would be a weird pitch down and then rebalance. And as you can see, it's much, much smoother. So it really is an excellent intercept to our altitude, very smooth. We've now captured 29,000 feet and the jet is starting to speed up. Now we are on our way to Pearl. So what's crazy about this is Pearl has a not above 29,000. However, after we pass Pearl, we're going to hit a requirement which is at 30,000 or flight level 300 for Anaga. So when we make this left-hand turn, we're actually going to then also start our next climb up to flight level 300. So here we're supposed to be at 30, so we're going to go ahead and dial that up. Want to make sure we're there and enable VNAV. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to follow that top of climb. We maintained MCT. A little bit of a up and down bobble there, but for the most part, pretty solid. And again, as it approaches, it's going to level off pretty smooth. Not your normal having a 1,000 difference so quick, especially with such a high speed. So now we're leveling off at flight level 300 or 30,000 feet. And this is an at constraint for Anaga. Now, at our next constraint is going to be MX751 at flight level 270 or 27,000 feet. which it has in. Now we're going to go ahead and zoom out our MFD, out, not in. And we're going to see we're going to get down to at least 18,000 feet. So looking at it, we're actually going to get down to SUTAS, which is... We're going to get down to SUTAS, which is 11,000. So let's go ahead. At this point, now that we have captured altitude, we can go ahead and roll the altitude down to 11,000 in preparation for our VNAV descent. So here we see that the VNAV V bar has shown up, and we of course are on target. We're coming up to Naga. The one thing to note here is it is going to be a tight turn, and I figure with our restricted bank, it's not going to make it. So I'm actually going to disable restricted bank and let it have a little bit of a harder bank, hoping to help capture that pretty sharp turn a little bit better. Obviously this will get way better in the iteration working titles coming with, based on how their G1000 intercepts does much better calculations of turn anticipation and starting that sooner, so it'd be able to calculate the required radius with a restricted bank. I still think this is going to blow through, but we'll see what happens. Pretty sure it's going to blow through. That's a really sharp turn, and we're doing 264 knots and a ground speed of 429. We are moving fast in the HJet. So we blew through that pretty substantial. It's gonna calculate its way back and get us back on course, but obviously that's one of those limitations of the flight plan manager. That's the default. It's gonna get so much better when we see working title release the AAU1 update. Well, Microsoft Flight Sim, but them working on it. You get the idea. Because, like, here's an example. There'd be no reason to pull a full 45-degree intercept here. You could go for a much longer, or shallower, I should say. Take a longer time to intercept shallower turn. So from 45 with the bank intercept turned off, it looks like it can do a little bit better job of cleanly intercepting the en route. Now what's really nice is at this altitude, as you can see, MCT can be maintained and we don't overspeed the aircraft. So we're booking along 427 knots over the ground, moving great, and we are coming up on our top of descent. Now we've currently got it set for 11,000 because that's what takes us down to SUTAS on the arrival. But if we jump to our RNAV 5 right, SUTAS 11,000, MX901 is going to drop us down to 9,700. And our mandatory altitude going into our final approach waypoint is at 8,900. So we should be able to dial this actually all the way down to 8,900 and allow that to go in. So our minimums on this one with LNAV and VNAV is 7,800 feet baro, 508 radar. So let's head on over here. We're gonna go home. We're gonna go to utilities, minimums, baro, and we want 7,800 feet. Hit enter, and our baro minimums are entered. So we got our baro minimums entered. We're ready there. We're a little ways out, but we could always head to our performance, go to our speed bugs, go to our landing, get from sim, it recalculates. We're going to turn those on. 113, 108, probably going to be where we end up. And we are... We did not rearm VNAV. Good news is it calculated that top of descent, recalculates a new top of descent for us. It's going to be a little bit more aggressive at first, but it will find a way down from the new top of descent altitude. And in anticipation of it, we're going to go ahead and start powering back as we start dropping. Much smoother transition to the descent. A little bit of a dip, but that's okay. And then it's on us to manage our power. So we're going to go ahead and drop it back to probably about 60. Into the 50s. And we're going to see where that gets us. We're right on that barber pole. And pitching for that level off, pretty smooth, not too aggressive like we've seen in the past. And then of course we're going to go ahead and start bringing in some more power as we level off. Don't want to lose too much speed. So our next constraint is also 18,000. It's an at, and then shortly after that we're going to head on down again. Alright, so normal descent, landing field elevation is confirmed, 7294. Looking at the plate, that looks correct. Yes, That would look like the landing elevation, 7292, 7294. Same difference. Anti-ice, don't need anything. It is, it's perfectly fine outside. We'll be good. And we have no cast messages. Altimeters, again, set because we've got standard weather. So our approach, seatbelt signs, we never took them off. Passenger briefing, don't care about Nico. He can drink another beer. He'll be fine. Cabin signs, yes, seatbelt and no smoking. We always have to tell him no smoking. Never listens. So avionics, they're set. We got our approach dialed in. Got our minimums dialed in, and we're already on our way down. Landing data, we confirmed it, we set it, and we see it. Cast messages, we got none. Approach briefing, well, it's pretty much complete. We'll try to do this real fast. We're going to be landing at MMMX. The ATIS is 127.65. We would have already picked that up. Approach, we'd be talking to them on 121.2. Mexico arrivals is 129.65. Tower is going to be 18.55. And then we'll go over to ground on 21.85. This is an RNAV. Our final approach course is going to be 55 degrees. Our mandatory altitude that we have to confirm crossing is 8,900 feet at MX90. As you can see, we're making the next leg turn. This is good. LNAV, VNAV, so decision altitude is 7,800 feet. We have that programmed. Our airport elevation 7297 and runway 7,292 feet. So that's good. On the missed approach, we're going to climb and track 055 to MX949 and proceed on the missed approach to Volun and continue according to ATC instructions. So it's a miss on the go and follow your way back around to get set up again. There is a hold at MX949. Maybe that bring you back in at the higher altitude and you hold there. All right, so Pappy's straight 55,949. And again, we are set up with our 7,800 feet. So we're getting close since 7,800 feet. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start powering back anyway. And we've started down on our next descent leg. This one's got a very short top off. So we're going to go ahead and when we zoom in, you're going to see that it is a very short top, and then we start down again. So we're going to go ahead and power back as we're getting into the barber pool anyway. So now that our approach checklist is complete, and we're just waiting on getting our flaps out. I gotta say the VNAV is holding really steady. This has been a complex departure directly into a complex arrival. I think it's a great combination. It's a wonderful flight. It's probably like level 2 tutorial flight. If you were going to fly this or looking for a challenge to get yourself acclimated again with the HJet, I would say doing this route of MMTO into MMMX using this departure and this arrival gives you a lot to work with. One of the things, again, is without an auto throttle, you are required to manage the power, and I think that helps keep you focused on what you're trying to do. So SUTAS is going to be where we link the arrival into the approach. Considering we've used no direct twos throughout this, we're hoping this transitions without hitting the heading turn back bug. But as always, I like to say bug up. So as long as you're constantly bugging up after every turn, you might be ready for when it decides to turn back, and you can engage heading mode, activate the next leg, and then fly the intercept and re-engage nav mode. That seems to be the best way to deal with the heading turn back bug. So here we've got our level off, and what's nice is we've dropped some speed. Probably a good thing to do around this altitude is start getting ourselves down into about the 200 so that we'll be ready to deploy our first stage of flaps. And there we go, tilting over. 8900 is our next constraint. So everything else is an above, and it has calculated a perfect descent down to 8900. That is quite the view out there. A lot of mountains, huge expansive city. You got the city skylines. It's quite impressive flying into Mexico. Now that we are crossing SUTAS and we're direct to the intermediary fix, normally this is where I would activate approach mode, because or arm approach mode, because we're on the way. So if we arm approach mode, we've got our glide path armed. That is the ghost diamond that you see present there. We're getting ourselves down into flap speed. So we're in flap speed now. Dropping some more. And we're going to put our approach flaps in. Add back a little bit of power. Now that we got a little bit more drag. And it is tracking nicely. And this is good. This is the way it should be. So the VNAV should be just under the glide path diamond. And so this is doing a great job that it should arrive at the FAF just before the glide path captures. And then from there, away you go. So here we captured the glide path. Could be considered early. The VNAV could descend us a little bit earlier than the glide path, but it's okay. It's getting us where we are. So now we got our glide path. We're going to drop our gear. Gear's coming down. So we've got our approach flaps. Before landing, landing gear is down. Speed brake is retracted. We've checked it. Flaps are landing or takeoff approach if icing conditions. So we are pretty good there. So we're going to go ahead and go to our landing flaps. Little bit of a balloon. Manages it, holds us, keeps us on the diamond. Want to get ourselves down to V approach. Airspeed, we want to get down to V ref over the fence. And we're going to disengage the autopilot and yaw damper at our minimums. Alright, landing, we're going to go thrust levers idle, brakes, apply after touchdown, and then we'll extend the speed brake as well. Alright, so let's keep on it.
1,000.
500 to go. Two and a half mile final. Right around VREF. Manually control that. 200 to go. Minimums.
Minimums. Autopilot.
And yaw damper out as well.
300. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10. 5.
And brakes go out. Speed brakes are out. All right, we're going to go ahead. Speed brakes go back up. Flaps go up. And we're going to get off here at E2. And this may be the wrong place to go, but I see hangars and it'll be good to get us off the ramp. Alright, after landing, cabin signs as required, anti-ice, speed brake retracted, flaps up, trims set back into the green. There you go, back into the green. Alright, so parking brake is set. Wheel chocks installed, engine ice off, external power as desired. So coming on down here, we go into sim options, we come into our ground power, and it is set. So we have ground power available to us once we shut down. Thrust levers, they're going to go to the cutoff. Engines are cut off. Cabin signs as required. So aircraft systems, system controls, interior lights, get those off. Sim actions, now that we're on the ground, we can go ahead and get our external power. Parking brake and battery can go off. So battery is off. We are on external power. Let's go ahead and get the main door, the cargo door, the front cargo. Static elements go in and we'll turn on those cabin shades and away we go. Alright, that one does it. As you can see, 107 Beta N has a remarkable VNAV system implemented. It's going to be awesome. Well, time for me to get out of here, so go ahead. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Come along on the next one. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.